I was like, why do these people want to scan, themselves? Like, who would want to do that, But what I didn't understand, and what I've come to understand, first of all, when I first started giving these talks, I would get up on stage and I'm like, I have to confess something. I'm not a horror fan, and I'd like wait for the tomatoes to be thrown, Nobody was upset with me. Nobody took it out on me. And then people would come up and they would tell me what my dad meant to them. And the more I got to know horror fans, and I lead these tours all over the world, and now, like there are people who've gone on like 13 of these tours with me, and I realized like we have nothing in common, and like, they are always in the cabinet of curiosities, and I love cemeteries too, so we're in the cemeteries, but, the more murder and mayhem and gore, and we have everything in common because they're curious, interesting, wonderful, funny people, and they're some of my closest friends. But I think the thing really that I didn't understand was two things. One is that horror is usually a family affair, that most people got into it because somebody in their family loved horror, and then they share it with someone else, in their family. And how perfect is that? Like, I'm here because I love my dad, and you're here because you love my dad. And, and how often do we get to do that, But then the other part was, I would come to these conventions, and I remember the first time it happened. It was a huge convention in Toronto, I think it was. And it was sci-fi, anime, horror, and I don't know, comics, I guess. And so you'd be like, there'd be like Superman next to Darth Vader next to Hello Kitty, it was like completely surreal. And I would look around and I'd think, everyone is here and they're so happy to be here. And they're with their people. And I thought, who are my people? And then I realized how lucky you guys are. Because there's no convention. I rode horses for a long time, and I love horses. But, usually at the horse things, the only thing we had in common was horses, I'd have maybe 2 or 3 friends, but most of the people in the horse world I wouldn't have been able to converse with, outside of horse. We talked about horses a lot, but I've never really found my heart tribe. And I realized, in a way, because of that, you guys have become my heart tribe, and you don't judge me. And the other day I was standing up in front of a group, and I was talking about this connection of love, and I heard these words come out of my mouth, and I realized it was true, that if I were bleeding out and crawling to, be saved, and up here was a church, and over here was a horror convention, it wouldn't even be a question. I could come on to the horror convention. I think that one needs applause. I would do this.